you. Thank you so much. Yeah. So maybe the minute of the work here. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to What's More. This is a platform where we move beyond just inspiring you to have very deep conversations on the things that matter in your personal life, the things that matter in your career, and the things that matter in your business. My name is Noella Obu. I am the growth coach and I am your host today. Well, it depends on where you're joining us from today, tonight. And the conversation we're going to have today is one that will not just stretch your mind, but one that will challenge your next career steps. Now, it is very important that you get yourself very comfortable, Sit back because our amazing guests are here to tell you what's more. Now, before we call up our guests, I would like the people who have arrived early, I know that some people are still on their way, to please type in the chat section. Tell us where you are joining us from. Just type your name and where you are joining us from. We'd like to welcome you personally. I know that some people in the audience are joining from outside Nigeria, from all parts of the world. So could you, in 2 minutes, just type in the chat section and let us know where you're joining us from? Your name as well, please. I can see iPhone Lagos. Welcome to What's More. It's a pleasure to have you here. Precious, Abuja, Nigeria. Well, welcome to What's More. Jennifer Port Harcourt. Welcome. Lydia, Sierra Leone. Welcome, Lydia. Chizoba Enugu Adesua Abuja. Cynthia Delta. Salome, Lagos. You're all welcome to What's More. We are so delighted to have you here. Emmanuel, Kogi State. Welcome, Emmanuel. Sandra Rivers, Ambassador Penny Lagos. Nice to meet all of you. Nice to have you here with us. Yes, if you're in the room, just tell us your name and where you're joining us from. Princeville, Lagos. Nice to meet you. Nice to have you here. Blessing, Abuja. Nice to meet you, Blessing. Chioma, Abuja. Nice to meet you, Chioma. Nice to have you here as well. Yes, keep the introduction coming. Keep the introduction coming. We would like to know where you are all joining us from. We would like to know where you're all joining us from. I am going to introduce our distinguished guests to us. So, the topic for today's episode of What's More is beyond skills. Why some employees rise faster than others. This is a very important topic. And it was deliberately chosen because this is the beginning of the year, even though we have just crawled, nicely slipped into the second month of the year. But this is still the beginning of the year. And it's a time when a lot of organizations recruit new employees. It's also a time when a lot of people change jobs. Now, it is important that if you are somebody who is getting into the corporate world for the first time, that you are armed with the tools that will help you to not just survive in the face of work, but to rise fast. Because when you don't rise as quickly as you desire in the workplace, it can be quite frustrating. It can be discouraging. And that was why we chose this topic. And we have actually brought experts, people who have walked the path, people who have seen the patterns over time. These two speakers are seasoned HR leaders, and they are going to unpack a lot of ideas for us so that whether you are joining the workforce for the first time or you are changing jobs, you are equipped to not just thrive in the place of work, but to also rise fast, because that is what actually brings joy in the workplace as well as fulfillment. So I'm going to let us know who Yemi is. Adeyemi Ajayi is a distinguished high-impact and results-driven strategic business leader with positive experience across multiple sectors, including professional services and consulting, financial services, logistics, and more. His career is marked by a consistent track record of driving transformational change, optimizing human capital performance, and aligning people strategies with organizational goals. As an astute human resource executive and learning facilitator, Yemi brings a deep understanding of the business landscape and combines it with strong people leadership skills. His expertise spans organizational strategy, leadership development, performance and talent management, and more. Yemi currently leads strategic HR functions that support operational excellence and service delivery in the health sector. He oversees initiatives that enhance employee experience, ensure regulatory compliance, and align HR practices with international standards and business objectives. Yemi is recognized as a thought leader and advocate for innovation in human resource engagement. He facilitates learning interventions in data security and compliance, talent management, performance management, and more. Yemi is a lifelong learner and a committed professional. He holds multiple certifications and fellowships from prestigious institutions, both locally and globally. Can we give Yemi a resounding applause? Yemi, we are honored to have you here. We are so honored
Thank you
to have
very
you.
much, Niela. Thank you all.
You are welcome, Yemi. Please, if you feel honored to have Yemi here, can we just give Yemi emojis? You know, the love, the fire, the everything in between.
Thank you.
We are all here for a very, very, do I say a hot ride? But we are here for a ride. Trust me. It's going to work every second of your time. So I would like us to meet Henry. Henry Umakor is the immediate past vice president of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, the prestigious CIPM. He is a fellow of the Institute and a certified global professional in HR resources. He is currently part of leadership in the oil and gas sector, where he has worked for the past 24 years, covering various roles in finance and human resources, inclusive of leadership development, change management, organizational review management, and more. He is an alumnus of INSEAD Business. He is also an alumnus of Lagos Business School. He is known for his ability to align people strategy with business goals and foster inclusive workplaces and build resilient teams that thrive in dynamic environments. Henry is a leadership coach, guiding and working with young people to hone their leadership skills and help them make progress in their chosen careers, business, entrepreneurship, and other aspects of human endeavor. His passion for social impact is evident in his work with prison inmates, where he provides welfare and rehabilitation support, and as well as his role on the Vision Center medical team, delivering free medical care and surgeries to underserved communities across Nigeria. Please, let us welcome Henry with another resounding applause. And
Thank you.
let the emojis start flying, please.
Thank you.
Let the emojis start flying. You are welcome, Henry. You are welcome. It's an honor to have both of you in this place. It's an honor to have both of you in this place. Okay, so like I mentioned when I started, this topic was carefully chosen, deliberately chosen, intentionally chosen. Let me use all the words. Intentionally chosen because this is the beginning of the year. People are changing jobs, people are getting new jobs for the first time, and it's very important that employees understand what it takes to move fast in the place of work. It's very important that they understand those hidden truths that nobody has probably ever told them. So that the moment they hit the ground, they are not just running, but they are flying. So I'm going to ask both of you to please help us understand. If skills are not enough, what is the real currency for growth today? I'll go with you, Harry, first. So if skills are not enough in the workplace, what exactly is the real currency of the workplace today?
Thanks a lot, Noella, and thanks for putting this together, because every opportunity to connect and help us, create an ecosystem that help us to learn from each other is very, very important. So I'm also here to learn today, because having Yemi as part of panelists and yourself driving this, for me, it's a big privilege. So again, critical questions, because it's a lot of skilled people, fantastic in terms of what they do in terms of the skills, but sometimes they just don't go far. And I think that's the essence of the question that you've asked. And I think I want to start by saying, first of all, this question doesn't in any way say that skills are not important. They are extremely important. In fact, it's the baseline. It's the baseline. You have to have that to start with. And I want to just start also by saying that skills will get you into the room. It will open the door. Absolutely. So I want to start with that skills are important. But I haven't gotten into the room. How long you stay in that room, whether you stay in or get thrown out, will then depend on this what more that we're going to be talking about very quickly. So that's, again, for time's sake, I want to leave it there in terms of the importance of skill itself. But I haven't gotten into the room, staying long in that room and taking a position in that room and growing in that room. These are the things we want to look at very, very quickly. And I'll say that one of those you will call invisible, tenets that would help us to stay in that room, having been brought in by skill, is adaptability. And I'll say that because there's a lot going on, right? You wake up one day and it's very different from yesterday. Within the work environment, a lot can change. Today, technology is changing, the laws are changing. Well, you know, for instance, that the tax laws in Nigeria have changed and the impact on HR. So leave it there. One of the first and most important I'll speak to is just being adaptable, being able to note the change and make and, align with the change to help it support the business. Very, very, very important. And the reason for that is because our world itself is a changing world. So whatever skills you've come, and I want to just leave it there by saying, look, at some point, businesses employ typewriters. Yes, but if you remained, and that will get you into so, but if you remain the typewriter in today's world, you'll be a relic. And the other thing to speak to very, very quickly around this, I haven't spoken around that adaptability, because I'm sure Yemi has a lot around that to say as well, is emotional intelligence. Yeah. Knowing timing of what you say, what you do in that room where skill has brought you into is very, very important. Someone shared an example once where, he was in a board meeting and he wasn't meant to be there, but again, his boss was not available. So he was representing his boss. And at some point, he was really correcting the chairman, but chairman quite a lot. And says, well, with all due respect, you are not right and all of that. Okay, no problem. But that's where emotional intelligence comes in. And after the meeting, it was given very, very clear feedback. So I'm speaking, to the extent that first adaptability, the other emotional intelligence, timing for what you do, what you say, timing for your actions, how you say them, all of those very, very important. And lastly, I'll speak to around the three things to speak on beyond skills is continuous learning. So yes, the skills that brought you into that room have brought you there, but can you continue to reskill? Can you learn more? Can you take up more skills as well, having gotten into that room? Those are three things I'll speak to Noella very, very quickly. Adaptability, emotional intelligence, and just having that mind to take on more, to learn more, as it were. Thanks.
Adaptability, emotional intelligence, knowing the right time to speak and how to speak is very important. Oh, goodness. So our good intentions can actually land us in trouble. This is what they just said without saying it exactly like that. Thank you so much. So over to you, Yemi. So if skills are not all that we need, what else? What else? Apart from adaptability, emotional intelligence, and continuous learning.
Thank you very much, Noella, once again. And my great respect to my brother, Henry. Yes, he's giving us three nuggets. Let me throw a bit more light on a few things. So again, your real currency of growth is no longer just your capital. Capital in this sense, pardon me, it means your skill, your knowledge, and of course, your competence. But it is a blend of your social network. Your social network. Who do you know? Who knows you beyond your skill? Because who will speak about you when you're not in that room? Very, very important. Number two is your psychological capital. First, social capital, that is your network. Secondly, I'll talk about psychological capital. Your mindset, how resilient are you? How resilient are you? Okay, because growth is no longer just linear. There's a whole lot of setbacks that is going to happen. Do you have that capacity to be able to withstand pressure? Can you manage stress? All right? Can you maintain optimism in the face of challenges? Can you persist where others will quit? Because that's a foundational currency for you. And this will determine how far that you can push boundaries of your own potential. And the third thing there, I'll talk about your reputational capital. What is your reputational capital? Your brand and your trust. Who are you? Are you reliable? Do you have integrity? Because these two things, they are the bedrock of your relational currency. If you are not reliable and you are not ethical and you are not consistent in the way that you make people feel, can people take risk on you? Beyond your skill, can people take risk on you? Can they even share their best ideas with you and trust you with it? And can you be able to build a long-term partnership with people? Your reputational capital is very, very important to take you along your career journey beyond your skill. How reliable are you? Who do you know? Who knows you? Who can put in a word for you when you are not there? Then again, can you manage ambiguity without you constantly needing supervision? If your boss is not there, like the example that Henry gave, where your boss is not there and you are asked to be in that room to represent your boss, can your boss rely on you that you will get that job done without embarrassing him in such a situation? Okay, then for you, beyond your current role, do you have the ability to be able to think beyond the immediate task that you are being given? Can we see you taking on responsibility beyond your role? That capacity, have you demonstrated it, even when you just have just one opportunity? And more importantly, do you have the ability to protect the organization? Can you protect our brand? If you are moved to this next role, have you demonstrated that resilience, that capacity to be able to defend your brand whenever you have the opportunity? Can you continue to get things done and continue to add measurable value and create impact? So all of these things I've mentioned, they are invisible, yet beyond your skill, they will help you to journey ahead your career. Let me leave it there. Thank you.
But I've been taking notes. My is filled already. So let me just talk to us about social capital, psychological capital, reputational capital, your ability to manage ambiguity, defend and protect your brand. We can see that these things are beyond skills. Like you said, they are intangibles, but they matter so much. Now again, I'll ask this question. What are those invisible factors? Because sometimes when leaders want to consider people for bigger roles, sometimes you don't even understand what informs their decision. You think you're doing so well, and then you're passed, and you're wondering, I'm working my back off. Oh, this position was available, and I wasn't nominated to fill the gap. What's going on? So, Yemi, since you are here, what do you think are those invisible factors? Well, you're a leader, so what are these invisible factors that leaders can consider when they want to fill better roles?
Thank you very much once again, Rella. So, for me, I've had the opportunity of leading, even from the age of 7. And over again, at this very moment, I lead HR team of a multinational organization. And one of the things that often comes to me subconsciously when I want to entrust responsibilities, to people is to ask myself, will this person reduce my stress or will it increase it? That's one question that often comes to me whenever I need to entrust responsibility to other people. Because people that get bigger roles, they don't panic publicly. When they find themselves in a public place, even when there are things that they don't know, even when there are situations that create fear, they just calm down because they're able to manage themselves. They're able to understand the room and read the room. And they understand the fact that even if you don't have all the right answers at that moment, panic is not the next solution. They don't just escalate every issue. They know that, for my boss to trust me, I must be able to solve problems in his absence. Those little problems, I should be able to solve it and not always escalate things up. And of course, they are able to disagree without creating drama. Because that's another thing. Like what Henry said earlier on, you are in a room of top people, you are representing your boss, and you are seeing a leader who's probably veering off the line. You don't necessarily have to create drama in order to correct that person or to disagree with that person. You must read the room and understand. Calm is the currency here. Leaders will always trust those who can create, who don't create emotional noise. People don't just create emotional noise. Another thing is judgment when no one is watching. Okay? Leaders want to watch how you talk about your absent colleagues. When your colleagues are absent from work, leaders are looking at you. Are you just judging them without interrogating the issues and understanding why? Whether you bend rules a little when it suits you, in your own little position and so I've given it to you, do you bend rules? Let's compromise a little, it's my paddy, you can work around this, okay? How do you act when there is no immediate reward? When we talk about deferred gratification, okay? If I say that, I'm going on leave, you should stand in for me, and you are not going to be paid anything, for relieving me. How do you act in such situation? Do you just say, you know what? How can you give me out to my work, and you are not giving me any relief allowance for doing that? How do you handle ethical ambiguities? Because as a leader, you are faced with a lot of ethical issues. And again, when you want to entrust another person with a leadership position or responsibility, you want to be sure that they can manage a lot of ambiguities while remaining very ethical. If your ethics fluctuates with convenience, trust will collapse silently. I repeat that. If your ethics will fluctuate with convenience, then trust will collapse quietly. Do you have the good instincts when there is no rule book? When you don't have any rule book to follow, are you able to have that instinct to understand that, oh, this thing, you have to be careful? And finally, let me land here with taking ownership of problem, not reporting problem. That is one thing, okay, that leaders will consider when they are, deciding whether to trust you or not. Okay, when they give you bigger roles to play, can you absorb chaos and not pass it upward? Can you solve problem and take ownership of situation? Leaders will always look out for who says, here is the problem, here is what I've tried, here are the 2 options or 3 options for you to pick from. So let me leave it there by wrapping up saying, number 1, are you consistent under pressure? Can I trust you emotionally? Okay, will you reduce my stress or will you increase it? Do you have the emotional intelligence and the self-awareness? And do you have the ownership mindset? Can you apply discretion and maintain confidentiality? And of course, can you influence people even when you don't have the authority? These are very, very critical for leaders to trust you with bigger roles. Let me leave you there. Thank you.
Wow. That was quite a lot to take in. Thank you so much, Yemi. Thank you so much. Carrie, would like to hear from you. So as a leader, what do you consider when you want to fill big roles in your organization, in your team? In your
Thanks a lot. I think Yemi dropped a lot of very, very, very important nuggets around this. I'll just touch a few more just to accentuate the very great points that he has made, because you talk about trusting for bigger roles. Those are the key words. Some people have been entrusted with bigger roles and they got there and they wish they never did those roles. They just wish they never. In fact, they felt like going home because of how those things came out eventually, you know. So this is very important, because when entrusted with bigger roles, how we perform in those places then says whether we will be established in those roles. Because quite often than not, it's often temporary, ad hoc in the first place. You know, I'm not available today. Can you stand in for me here? That kind of thing. So that's often what happens at first. Now, it's how we perform with those ad hoc temporary opportunities that then tell whether we will be put in such bigger roles in a more permanent basis. And as I said before, so it's again, some people have grabbed the opportunity and made the best of it. Some people have said, I wish I was never given this. So a few things that Yemi said, I'll just accentuate a little bit. First of all, I call it the room test. Yeah, and Yemi made that point. I'll just put it a bit. The room test, basically, that boss, that CEO, that director is saying, if I'm not there and I put this person in that room with stakeholders, with customers, with the CEO, with the board, how will that person come out? That's the room test. And that's one of the things in the leader's mind. So I call it the room test. I won't be there. XYZ will be there for me. How will this person perform? That's very, very important for the leader. And I'll say, because Yemi has made the point, I'll leave it at that. The other thing to speak to quite clearly, and Yemi again made that point, composure. Yeah. If we are scattered and everywhere, then the boss is saying, I can't put this guy there. Though very skilled. And that's why you're talking about invisible skills. You're talking about, again, the topic. This guy is super skilled, but when pressure comes, he capitulates. I'm not going to put that person in there, because sometimes you cannot predict what happens in that room. Yes, you can't. So things can come up. How will this person deal with what comes up? Very, very important as well. Alignment is another one. So is this person aligned with our core objectives? Because that becomes then your compass. It becomes your anchor. How is this person aligned with the things that matter to us? And interestingly, as you interact with people, you'll be able to tell who amongst your colleagues is aligned or who is misaligned, who is driving their own objectives and who is driving the objectives of the business. That's also very, very important. I spoke about emotional intelligence earlier. You can't overemphasize that. Critical, because that affects the issue again of timing of what you do. You know, the good book, for those who read it, myself inclusive, says there's time for everything. What may just be right now may just be completely wrong at another instance. So that's where emotional intelligence comes in. As I did say before, Yemi has really hit the notes on this one, so I'll just leave it at that. What I call the room test. You know, I'm thinking this person I'm going to put in this room how will it represent, me or the brand where it's sitting before the CEO or board or customers, as the case may be, and some of those factors we have spoken to earlier. Yeah.
Whoa. Wouldn't want to have somebody who brings embarrassment to the brand. So you wouldn't want to promote somebody to a level where the person goes and causes ruckus and confusion. And you just have to start putting out fire that you never set in the first place. Thank you so much, Yemi. Thank you so much, Henry, for that. Now I'm going to ask you, Henry, please don't go. Has there ever been a moment when you realized in your career that skills alone wouldn't take you to the next level? And what did you do? So we need your personal experience now.
Thanks, Noella, and it's good you asked me this one. Well, I'll speak to this, and I'll try to keep the details, some of the details out, because again, so in an organization I work for, at certain levels of leadership, you are not just promoted. You go and vie for it. You compete with your colleagues. That's what it is. You grow and grow to a certain stage. Then when you get to a stage, nobody hands it over to you. Because as part of succession plan, there are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of you who become eligible or qualified for that higher role. Of course, organizations are mostly pyramidal. So that's what it is. So you go and compete. In this particular case, then I had to compete, of course, with other colleagues. By providence, by God's grace, and all of the things you could think of, I came on top. So it meant I became the leader. Now, some of those I competed with became part of my team members, as it were, and a number of others. And I tell you, it was tough. Again, because within that function, there were people who had been in that function for ages. They've been there. I haven't been there. And so I'm coming from somewhere else. I'm coming into that team, and they're leading the team. So there are lots of issues. To cut a long story short, life was tough. I'm making it as quick as possible because you get to a certain stage of work and leadership. One of your major factors for success is information, data, what's available to you. And where there are legacy issues, some of those data in people's boxes and their own places, you just do not know what to do. You are flushed. But there was work to be done, and it was difficult. And first of all, you don't even know what is hidden and not hidden, because until you know something is hidden, that's when you know that thing is you should have had. You don't even know. And you then go to meetings, you go to leadership things, and you are flushed over and over again, and things pop at you, and your eyes open up, and you say, hey, what was this about? So that was the scenario. So in terms of how I got the role, obviously, mostly it's the skills, because you were interviewed. So the skills, basically, I would say, got me the role, because we're all interviewed. Now, performing on the role, obviously, those skills were not enough. Things were challenging. So some of the things we had to do, basically had to walk into the hearts and minds of my team members. And it was essential. It was essential. So relationship management became a major, major issue. I needed to get to a point where I would not be seen as this stranger who has come to usurp, as this person who has come to take our role, but as a trusted partner and leader. That became my objective. How do I get to that point where within that team, I am trusted? Because without that, trust me, if you look back and there's no one following you, then like someone said, I think Sheikh Majid will say that, then you're taking a walk. If you turn back and there's no one following you, you're taking a walk. And you say you're a leader. So it was critical then for me to build trust, to be able to say to the team, not when I say not just verbally, but to be able to demonstrate to the team that I wasn't just someone who had come to usurp, as I said before, but a trusted leader with clear objectives. There were things that had to be done. For instance, I'm coming on a Friday, and I'm just buying some gifts for team members. I'm saying this probably for the first time on air. and I'm buying gifts for team members. So, this is for you, this is for you. Did all of that kind of stuff to build trust. But there were also times I had to take everyone into the room to say, hey, here's my vulnerability. What do we need to do? We have work to be done. So how do we deal with these things? So communication was very, very, very important. Over time, we built trust. But also then I needed to work to support them. Some of them had, as it were, their own things going on within their space. It was important to them that they knew I was there for them. And that helped to build trust within that team. And once we grew the trust capital, I can tell you, as part of the outcome for that, eventually for that year, when we had an appraisal outcome, my team had one of the best across the business. Of course, not that year, that was the following year, obviously, when by the time we had built trust, we had built capital, we had communicated better, they knew that one could lead them in that sense. That was it in terms of what helped.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. That is really, 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 really stimulating. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and for being vulnerable here with us, Kerry. Thank you so much. Now, Yemi, if you would share with us, what would be that one behavior that you had to unlearn, which has helped you to grow professionally? So we're going personal now.
Wow. All right, let me attempt to just describe the behavior and share a bit of the experience without necessarily giving out quite a number of details, because I'm not sure if some of the people who were involved in those exits were probably on this call. Okay, so one very, very important behavior that I had to unlearn is waiting to be recognized. Waiting to be recognized. I've always been someone who likes to work behind the scene, who likes to, keep on, executing behind the scene, running behind, planning, arranging, getting things done, fixing everything at the back, at the back end, while somebody else is leading and, just there. I love to have my boss free up their time, focus on strategy and, and execution, and, I not necessarily have to bother about, what is going on behind the scene. I take, those spaces. But oftentimes, over time, I discovered that most of the time, people are asking if they see me on, on the podium, on the screen, for the first time, wondering who is this person? Where is he coming from? What has he done before? And all of that. Because somehow my name, even when I prepared some presentation for my, managers or anybody in the back then, my name does not appear on the slide. Nothing that says anything about, those who have done the work behind the scene. And you see most of the times I'm preparing all the research, doing everything, and over time I found out that, what, if I keep waiting to be recognized, somehow you will do all the hard work. You put on all the effort, but nobody knows you. Because like one of my mentors would say, nobody winks in the dark. Again, it's a familiar person to myself and Henry, the person who usually have that quote. He will say that nobody winks in the dark. Just like the Bible says that you don't light a candle and put it under a bushel and cover it up. It will not be seen. You have to, the good book says that we are a city that is set on the high, okay, that we must shine. Because many performers, believe that if you do excellent work, someone will notice you. All right? They always feel that speaking up may look arrogant. I fell into that trap because I don't want to be, named is arrogant, is proud. Why is he telling us that he's the one that did this and all of that? I always believe that results should speak for themselves. That when people see the quality of your work, okay, they should know your stuff and all of those things, right? But in reality, I found out that organizations don't reward silence. Companies don't reward silence. They reward clarity. All right? So waiting to be recognized most times, it looks like humility, right? It feels, okay, you want to be humble, you want to be quiet, not just do your thing. But leaders, they often see it as lack of confidence. Like you don't have confidence. That's why you are quiet, they always think that you just lack ambition. You are just comfortable in your comfort zone. All right. They feel that you lack the readiness for responsibility. When you're just calm, you're calm, cool, and collected. No. But the moment I unlearn this particular behavior, all right, my growth was accelerated because every opportunity that I had, I make the best use of the platform without sounding arrogant, without blowing my trumpet out of the roof, but I learned to blow it again, because if you don't blow your trumpet, who will blow it for you? But what is important is that you know how to blow it and not blow it louder or too loud, that it will become noise. That is very important. So I began to articulate my impacts without having to apologize for it, which is very, very critical. Okay, I'm able to now state what I want instead of hoping that somebody will understand what I want. Instead of believing that somebody will just infer it, I learned to be able to, state it, and I'm able to to frame my work in terms of outcomes and not just the effort that I put in. And all of these has helped to accelerate my career, and my journey. I once, because of that behavior, before I was able to unlearn it, I spent over 5 years on a particular role in a particular organization. And I kept on doing all the work, but other people kept on getting the praises and the reward. But the moment I understood that I needed to always, once I have the opportunity, I don't waste it. I communicate my impact. And I don't have to apologize for it. By the way, in the best of tones, I'm able to present and articulate what I want and what I'm able to do, the clarity around the impacts and the value that I bring to the table. And this is very, very important, for anybody that wants to progress, in career. You should not wait to recognize. Find opportunity to make impact. And when it comes, take it and don't allow it to slip away. I think I'll leave it there, Noella.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Now, I'm sure some people are going to be wondering, so how am I supposed to toot my horn without sounding like I am praising myself? So where do we strike the balance? Because it's not easy for somebody to toot their own horn and not sound like they are, overdoing it. Where do we strike the balance?
All right. So
How do we
let's look at when you want to orchestrate, music. For example, you have several instruments that are playing at the same time. The trumpet is sounding. The keyboard is on. The drum is being played. The guitar is also being played. But if one instrument is extremely louder than the others, it becomes noise in the ears of the listeners. But when you orchestrate a good blend of everybody playing to the tune, and you are able to coordinate and ensure that you are not blowing your trumpet out of line, the guitar is not sounding out of line, the drummer is not just continuously beating very loudly, that is where you strike that balance. Understanding the temperament of the room, knowing when it is your own time to, showcase your own impact without in any way bringing other people down. That is very, very critical. You don't bring other people down. Communicate your own impact. Don't begin to say, oh, I do this more than this person. Oh, within the team, I'm the only one that's able to do this. Recognize the effort of everybody. Communicate your own impact. What is your own role within the team? How are you able to deliver and support and collaborate well? How has your own value impacted other people and also enabled other people also to also become valuable? Because when we go alone, we go a mile. But when we go together, of course, we go further. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that clarity. Henry, in your opinion, what do you say are those 3 major traits, that makes an employee very attractive for leadership positions? What are those 3 traits, in your opinion?
Thanks a lot. And I think you will notice that most of these things just tie up together. So I'll just start from where Yemi stopped. I think Yemi saying, blow your trumpet, but don't blow a vuvuzela. For those of us who remember vuvuzela, it was used at one of the World Cups in South Africa, and it was pretty noisy. And I think if you just go back to that same point as well, looking at the orchestra, while one instrument should not outloud the others, but again, if you take that instrument away, any discerning music person will notice that that instrument is silent. So I think he's saying, don't be silent. And so the first point I'm going to speak about, just speaking on that point, is what I call narrative control. You need to control the narrative. So if you need to control it. So working hard is good, but it is not enough. The value of your work needs to be told. At a presentation I had recently, I was saying to people, don't be the best kept secret. You do a lot of work, but you're cocooned somewhere. It's not going to work if you really want to grow. So the first thing I'll speak to, and I think that just ties with Yemi's point, is, you control the narrative about the value of your work, about your alignment to the business, about your objectives that you're driving. You control the narrative. Who best to tell Noela's story than Noela? But that's the truth. The difference between us and books is that even the best book ever in the world is in the shelf. It cannot say, read me, until somebody says, I've read this book. Do you want to read it? Then you go and pick it to read. But as humans, we can go beyond that. You're a fantastic book. Tell people to read you. So the first thing I'll speak to is what I call narrative control. Doing the work is good. Go beyond that to talk about the value of the work you do and the value you bring to the business as much as is possible without creating loudness. That's the first one. The second one I'll speak to is what I call very clearly anticipation, right? Sometimes you do a job and your boss will tell you, God bless you, Noela. God bless you, Yemi. Your boss is saying that because somehow they feel you even read their minds before they even told you what the problem was. You've hit it, you've done it. Sometimes your bosses are hugging you with all the passion because deep in their mind, this thing is there. They haven't even told you that this is the problem. But guess what? On a Monday morning, you've come up with something and the boss looks at you. Are you clairvoyant? Are you telepathic? Why? Anticipation. Anticipation. You are thinking, what next? Am I thinking what next? And that is where you then solve your boss's problem before, and I say again, before he begins to see the problem. Guess what? He's excited. He hugs you, says, God bless you because of that. The third thing to speak to, you said 3, I'll give 4 for the price of 3, but I'll make them quick. So the first one I said is you control the narrative. The second one I said is anticipation. You anticipate your boss's problem, anticipate the business's problem, and you try to solve them before they even become issue. The third one is relentless curiosity. Relentless curiosity. At all times, you are basically saying that you're learning and learning more about the business. What are the things that drive this business? What are the main value drivers for us? How is this business meant to be done? Because if you stay continuously on just that your lane and the business has several lanes, how can you grow? How can you grow? So yes, you understand what's happening in your lane, but you are also looking at the other lanes of the business. I'll say this very, very quickly. For that particular example I gave about that point of elevation where I said in this occasion I spoke about, they don't give it to you when you get to that stage. You go and compete with your colleagues. I'll tell you in that particular case, what gave me the urge at that time, and I had the shortest HR experience, the shortest of all the team. But what gave the edge, we all thought, or rather most people thought they were going to ask specifically just HR questions. But guess what? We got there and there were questions around production. There were questions around shipping, commercial, the business, how it is run. And I'll say with all due humility, that was what was helpful for me because I had the shortest HR experience at the time with, but because the business was looking for a leader beyond being an HR person. So how curious are you about other things happening? Or are you just staying in your lane? I'm head of policy and that is it. And then when they ask you questions around even the next HR function recruitment, you can't even say about it. Or industrial relations, you can't speak to it. or employee engagement, you can't speak to it. So that's very important for me. I call that relentless curiosity. More often than not, we do have the time. I know that things can be tough, but sometimes we spend the time doing other things. And when people begin to grow, we say, why is Peter growing beyond this one? Why is this person growing? But these are the things they do. Because this relentless curiosity helps to ensure that when you speak, the things you say matter to the business. And the last one I'll speak about is visionary thinking. Yeah, what next? What next? Leaders are thinking that way. If you want to show that you're a leader, you should be thinking that. So I've spoken to 4 things quickly. Narrative control, you control the narrative. That ties with what Yemi spoke about. You do a good job, continue to do a good job, talk about the value of it. The other is anticipation, solve your boss's problem before they know it. The third is relentless curiosity. And the fourth, I said 4 for the price of 3, is the one I call visionary thinking. Thanks, Noella.
Thank you so much. That was explosive, Henry. Wow, relentless curiosity, visionary thinking, controlling the narrative. Please do not wait for somebody to tell your story. Tell your story. Don't be the best kept secret. Don't be the best kept secret. Now, we have actually gone far into this program. There are many other questions I would have loved to ask you and Henry, but they have actually done so much, said so much, given us so much that if we put them into practice, we are going to become better employees and move as fast as we can in our career. Now, I would like to take questions. So please drop your questions in the chat section or unmute your mic and ask the question. Just raise your hand and we're going to call you to ask your questions. We're going to do this for the next 10 minutes before we end the session. Questions, please. And while the questions are rolling in the chat section, I would also want us to drop one major thing we have taken away from this session. What is that main thing you're going home with from this session? So let me look at the questions in the chat section. Questions, please feel free to raise your hand so we can signal to you. Feel free to raise your hand so we can signal. What are the techniques of public speaking? Jimo, what are the techniques of public speaking? Questions, please. Well, I can see a lot of takeaways here. Can we have your questions, please? So while we're waiting for the questions to come in, I would like to ask this question, this very last question. Yabi and Harry, please. Just in 30 seconds each, just tell us what you think. There are many people in this room, I believe, who feel that they have been overlooked despite working so hard. What piece of advice would you give them? In just 30 seconds. What piece of advice would you give those people?
Do you want to go first?
Yemi, please go first.
All right. Okay. So in 30 seconds, I will just drop nuggets quickly. One, I will say number 1, hard work is essential, but it must be visible and relevant. Make sure that the right people know what you are working on and why it matters. You need to participate in career conversations, seek feedback, and develop a very clear understanding of what leadership value and rewards. You must know what leaders value and what they reward. Seek stretch assignments. Don't just be comfortable in your comfort zone. Look for things that will stretch you. Not everyone opened the door that is meant for now. It's not every open door that you see that is meant for now. Some doors will require thicker skin, stronger judgment, an ability for you to lead without bitterness, so that you don't arrive before your time, because you could take on responsibilities that you are not prepared for. And that's very important. Sometimes waiting does not mean that you have been forgotten. It only means that you are being prepared. So it's very important, because the work that you are doing, you are building skill, you are building resilience, and you are building credibility, even when no one is applauding. So keep at it. Don't lose hope. When that time comes, you'll be discovered. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I like the take on the stretch assignments. Many times we think, oh, I'm overworked, I'm overloaded. I don't want, I'm stressed up. We just keep complaining. Thank you so much for that. Henry, what advice would you give us in 30 seconds for those
Okay, 30 seconds.
working so hard but overlooked?
I keep go back to this example. When I got my letter of appointment to that role, I walked straight to my boss and I gave him this appointment letter that I was given. I said, thank you. And he was wondering, why do you say thank you? I said, because I glorify God, but I thank you. And he said, why? I said, because you kept throwing me everywhere. You kept bringing roles, you kept stretching, you kept bringing responsibilities that were not mine. I knew they were not my job to do, but you kept throwing them at me. And that time it was Herculean, it was tough. I won't lie to you. It was tough. But those things exposed me to the business a lot more than my HR function. Now, who knew that those are the sort of things that would be asked at the interview? You don't know. So my glory was to God, but my thanks was to him. Because like Yemi said, stretch functions. Now, very quickly, I'll say this. If only your boss knows that you are a fantastic staff, then you are just one resignation away from becoming invisible. If only your boss knows that you are a fantastic staff, then you are one resignation away from becoming what? Invisible. So the point being very clearly is that if the person is hidden, the challenge is not a capability gap, it's a visibility gap. It's not a capability gap, it's a visibility gap. So that visibility, and we've said a lot of things around that to keep to time, we've said a lot of things around the need to make your job, make yourself become visible. Mentor others. Yes, grow others, and they will speak to what you're doing. Grow them. Get into cross-functional teams. Yes, actually, do other things. So people will see that, oh, this person has integrity, is thinking, and all of that. So just keeping it in the few seconds you mentioned, those are some of the things. Like I said, not a capability gap, it's a visibility gap, and that gap needs to be closed.
Please close your visibility gap, but not by tooting your horn, like using a vuvuzela to be making annoying noise. Just be very prudent in the way you market yourself and create visibility for yourself. Yes. Some people have asked some questions. Somebody asked, how do you manage your boss? Yemi, how do you manage your boss? I saw that question. I saw that
Emotional
question.
intelligence. Know yourself, know your boss. Know yourself, know your boss. Understand what your boss looks out for whenever he gives an assignment, and understand what he expects that should be the output that he needs. Once you are able to know that, you'll be able to manage your boss better. For the lack of time, I will have expatiated a lot. That is a whole topic on its own. But for lack of time, I would say demonstrate emotional intelligence, be self-aware, understand your boss, know the kind of questions he asks, know the kind of output he expects, and of course, know his routine. And you will be able to manage your boss. It's very, very important. It starts from...
Okay, so I actually forgot to qualify this, but this person said a difficult boss. Do you handle a difficult boss? So Harry, how do you handle a difficult boss? Okay, let me see if I have another question here. Somebody's hand is up. Chizoba, oh no. Chizoba, your hand is up. Can you ask your question? These two seem to be the two questions here.
All right. Good evening, everybody.
Okay. Chizoba, looks like your network is not so
an amazing
strong.
session, honestly. Okay, I just have a simple question. I don't know if either of the panelists can actually answer.
Go ahead, please.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead. Chizoba, go ahead. We can hear you. Oh, wow.
Hello, can you hear me?
Network is at it. Yes, we can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, good evening, everybody. First of all, let me appreciate you for this session. Honestly, the panelists have been wonderful. Okay, my question is, as a human resource manager, how can you, let me give a scenario. Like you have a line manager or someone who is in charge of a department, and oftentimes the person is not always forthcoming. It's more like it's the people that are under him that you will now have to reach out to get what you really want. And sometimes the manager will now see it kind of that you're overlooking the person, but most times the person is not always forthcoming, and you need this information quickly. So how will you really be able to manage this situation as a human resource manager?
Yemi, over to you. You're here.
All right. Okay, fine. So the first thing I would say in this kind of situation is this particular person, could it be a case of capacity gap or capability gap? Then again, too, could it be that the person has deliberately delegated responsibility to his team and is trying to create that environment for everybody to be able to trust his team, and rather than bringing all the issues to him? So depending on what the findings are, if it is a capability gap, all right, it means that somebody somehow needs to be able to present that to the management in such a way that you are not reporting, but the flaws of the department. And that's one of the benefits of having 360-degree feedback loop, an anonymous feedback system in organizations, where employees can have the opportunity of course, communicating even without being, known, so that they're able to put that, forward. If it is a capability gap, it probably means that maybe that person, it's time for the person to either be replaced. Again, whistleblowing and feedback loop will help to take care of that. But if it is a case of the person empowering his or her team, then it means that people need to understand clearly what you need to escalate to that person. For example, if the person has multiple specialists under him or her, and you are asking questions around, say, compensation and benefit, for example, the person will not necessarily attend to you. It will just, delegate it, because the person is a specialist that is working under him. Talent management, you know who to speak to. Leave requests, all of those things, So the person expects that things that are strategic, that he will necessarily want to attend to. I think I'll leave it at there. I don't know if Henry has one or two other things to add to that because of our time.
I think just one thing very, very quick, and Yemi, you've made the point. What I would just say, except it's difficult, I'll say have a conversation. Yeah. Yeah. So Yemi has given quite a lot of talk around that in terms of all the ifs. But if it's not outrightly difficult, then I would say relationships matter a lot. One of my mentors will say, we do too many emails in our world. So maybe it's just okay to have a conversation to say, I need these things often. Is it okay that I keep getting it from your team members? Just a subtle, nice conversation around that. That way, you then find out what the issue is. And sometimes it's probably no issue. Sometimes it's one of the things that Yemi said. And if the person chooses to delegate, the important thing is that you get the information, you get the data that you need. How you get it, it doesn't matter. So that's why I would just add to that point to say, where possible, and that has helped me a number of times, have a conversation around that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Somebody said, how about if it feels like my boss doesn't like, what should I do? Henry. What if it feels like my boss doesn't like?
Noella, this is table shaking. This is table shaking. So again, sometimes we have experiences. I'll say this quickly for time's sake. I did feel that way at some point. And I'll tell you what I did. And I'll tell you, do not do what I did. Honestly, and this is being vulnerable. I'll tell you what I did. I will tell you, do not do what I did. It was in my young days. And I did things that I should never have done. And I'll tell you, don't do it. So I joined this business, and someone was already there in that role as a third-party staff, contract staff, you call third-party staff. The business decided to make an established job position, and they went all out. They've had a tough recruitment process. Cut long story short, I became successful through that process. However, the person who was there as a contract staff, I actually met her, one of the most lovely human beings in the world. Honestly, I say that again. This lady was a wonder. If I ever had a choice, I would have given her the job instead of myself. So she was liked, very well liked by the business, by my supervisor. And then, who is this fellow coming to take XYZ's job? That was the beginning of, the fact that I wasn't hated for anything. But the person who was there before that everybody hoped to get that job was super liked. Me too, I liked her. She was a fantastic fellow. Now, to make matters worse, everybody in that team spoke a particular language. So sometimes meetings are done in that language. And there was I looking at everybody. Guess what? I locked up. I fought back. Once it's time to close, I went home. Sometimes I just locked up in the meetings. I didn't say a word. And I'll tell you the truth. It didn't work out well for me. It did not. Not enough time to state all the things that I did, but I did all the things that were not right. And my growth was really stunted. But at some point, some conversation had to happen. I then walked to my boss and said, this is how I feel. And then she, funny enough, in our vulnerability, she actually told me, you come and took XYZ's job. What did you think? But guess what? We then built something. That's why I always talk about a conversation. We built something, but that was 2 years down the line after I'd suffered so much. We had a conversation, things changed, and we moved on and work was done. Before that, I had all the negative reactions, and I'll tell anybody, don't do that. Do what I said at the end, have that conversation, say this is what I feel. Quite often than not, it does help. I'll tell you that very quickly. Nola, you're muted if you're speaking. Does Yemi hear her?
No, I can't hear her.
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Now,
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, so Kerry just told us to please not do what he did. Don't just believe that you are hated. Don't be biased. Don't. Okay, so we're going to take this very last question. Okay, somebody actually made a comment. Sometimes when you assign leadership roles to some staff, they feel you want to use indirect role measures on them. They rather would prefer to work as a team. But you have actually seen amongst them one that needs to be singled out. But I don't know if it is fear of leading others for what? Well, it could be the fear of leading others. I think these people's self-confidence will need to be built up so that they will people don't even know what they are good at until you tell them what they are good at. Some people don't even know their own potentials until you point those potentials out to them. So thank you so much, Yemi and Henry. You guys have been super amazing. Now we are wrapping up and we've come to the end of this session. But one thing is clear. Skills may open the door for you, but you need much more than competence for you to rise and grow and grow and grow fast in your career. Thank you so much once again, Yemi. Thank you so much, Kerry. Thank you so much, our amazing audience, our vibrant audience, our active audience. I'm sure that you have taken so much away. Now, before you go, I would like you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do, and set your notifications so that you'll get notified whenever we have something dropping. Now, this program, this series will be happening every month. And every month, we're going to be bringing more experts to talk to us about things that will help us with our career growth, our business growth, and things that will help us to grow in our private lives. I am Noella Ugu again, and this is What's More. Thank you once again, and see you in the next episode. God bless you all.
Thanks everyone
Bye,
for being with
everyone.
us today. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you.
everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you so much,
everyone.
Yemi. Thank you,
Thank you
Henry.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Bella.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Obi, thank you. I see
Thank
you.
you. Hi. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Obi is, I wish you the same.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you so much.
Mrs.
Very
Thank
Noella.
you.
interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Nella,
you.
for the invitation. Thank you,
Thank
and
you
well
so
done.
Well
much,
done.
everybody.
Interesting one.
Thank you. Deola,
Thank you.
I see you. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Whoa, Yemi, that was explosive. Henry,
Thank
this
you.
is my lecture notes. I'm going to compile this.
Well,
Thank you.
Writing and writing and writing.
thank you so
Stop
much.
writing. Thank you so much, good man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You did well putting this together, because for me as well, it's a community. And I like to also join with when other sessions come, because it's always an opportunity to learn. And I will join, God willing,
Absolutely.
because it's a community. And if we keep growing each other, we all get better. That's the truth.
Yeah.
So well
You
done.
know, there are a lot of things you guys actually shared today that, you know, even I would say that I haven't learned, you know, or, you know, some things we do subconsciously, but we don't
True.
even know that they have a name,
Absolutely.
you know, we don't even know that they have a
Yeah.
name. And so thank you very much, Oluchi, thank you. So we don't do these things intentionally.
Mhm.
So we really need to begin to do these things intentionally, because
Intentionally.
just
Yeah.
doing things once in a while, you know, it happens when it happens, might
True.
not actually get us the kind of results that we want. But when we
Yes.
begin to do these things intentionally, we'll just see our growth accelerated.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of people are really miserable in the workplace. And the truths that you people have shared today might sound uncomfortable to some people, but
Mhm.
they are the real truths.
Yeah.
They're the real
Yeah.
truths.
Well done. Well
No,
done.
you're not promoted for the length of time that you spent in the workplace. But all
Yeah.
these things you've shared today, I just believe that, you know, it will help a lot of people to equip themselves for 2026. And 2026, it's not just enough for us to say amen, amen, amen. This is one of the amens, you know. Do what you have to do so that God will do his part and you do your part. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Noella.
you,
God
Noella, for
bless
putting
you
this
both.
together.
Thank you
It
for
means
your
well
It's
done,
time.
my
huh?
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Please
brother.
answer the call when we call you
Great
again. I
doing
know
this
you
today.
guys are so busy.